The pillows are fluff thanks to Miss Emily. The couch is wide enough, join the family. It's all love while we laugh at Bert's criminalities. Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup at hey, hey, hey. Come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. Oh, please, the puppies need me. Ooh, oh, please, my body is rejecting none of that fancy credential stuff. I'm just here for the cringe binge. Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup and hey, hey, hey. Come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. Oh please, the puppies need me. Oh please, my body is rejecting none of that fancy credentialed stuff. I'm just here for the cringe binge. Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup that hey, hey, hey. Come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.
Hello, Sofa Squad. I hope everybody is doing well. Hello, Dr. Patrice Berry. Thank you so much for coming and being a guest on the channel again. It is so exciting to have you. How have you been doing?
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to get to hang out here on your sofa.
Yay, yay. And y'all, if you could drop a number 1 in the comments, and thank you, mods, for being here. I do appreciate each of you for hanging out and making it all happen and keeping the cushions fluffed. So y'all, Dr. Berry, first and foremost, check out her channel. A lot of you follow, so many of you are always like, you all love Dr. Berry, but if you don't know who Dr. Berry is a wonderful, I was going to say another YouTube creator, but you are a Dr. Berry and a YouTuber. So do you want to talk about yourself real quick for those who might not know you, and then we can kind of get into the business of things?
Yes, so I am a licensed psychologist. I have a full-time private practice, and here on YouTube, I like to talk about. I do this for fun and I really enjoy it. And thank you so much. Like, this is because your coverage of this case helped me kind of stay, because it wasn't streamed. And so being able to just catch up was in kind of brief ways helpful.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay, wait, sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. I have my YouTube screen over here, my StreamYard's here, and the YouTube is delayed. And so I was like, she's talking still, but I don't hear it. I'm like, oh, I'm looking at the wrong screen. Yeah, so this case, so James Craig found guilty. Shocker, right? For those who haven't followed it, James Craig is a dentist. I was filming content today actually on Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson, another killer dentist. I don't know what's up with that profession, but James Craig is a dentist. He poisoned his wife. He was like poisoning her and her workout smoothies, things of this nature, and took it to trial. Very, very cringy, obvious evidence, shockingly obvious evidence. He was not shockingly found guilty, sentenced, and shipped off, right? And so this was just one of those where the whole time I was watching it, one of the psychological components, like put even the poisoning aside, is when you're looking at defendants like this. And so, for example, let's talk about real quickly some text messages he did. One of the situations that took place, for those who aren't familiar, is, he had sent the cyanide to his office, and his workers and all this kind of put 2 and 2 together, like, wait, his wife has these things going on, this, that, and the other, whatever. And so they informed his, let's call him a business partner, for lack of a better term, but a business partner, who then in turn tells the hospital staff and whatnot, but calls out James on the phone, is like, I know the package had cyanide, what's going on? And so then James the next day sends him like a dissertation basically my uncredentialed thing, gaslighting him, saying, you're not a good friend, you're not this, you're sticking your nose into where it doesn't belong. And I'm reading it and I'm like, what kind of delusion do you have to be to double down on
And
this, to be so
And
go
I
ahead.
hear it as entitlement, that he felt entitled, like, "You should be on my side. How dare you not let me do my crime?" Like, that's where, so there's this, like, "How could you go against me like this? I'm your friend," with completely ignoring the fact that his wife is sick and dying, and the dentist, his friend, cares about his wife too. It really was just mind-blowing how much evidence there was. I love a bad criminal because, like, there's just the Google searches, and there was just so much against this guy.
Yeah, and I love how you said that, the entitlement, because really that's yes. The way too that it came off, and like kind of piggybacking on what you said, of it was like he just assumed almost that the people were gonna, like, this dude or whatever, the other dentist, was gonna be in his camp, and then also extend that over to his kids, where he's like roping them into the crime. Not even, and I don't even know if he considered it. So like the dynamic where he wrote his daughter was like, hey, you need to basically go bail this person out, and you're going to get this from him, it's your cousin, and he's going to have this list. And the list, like, say if she had gone along with it, I mean, she would have been, in my opinion, been in legal trouble, for doing these crimes. And so it's like he didn't even like, even there's no boundaries even with the kids. It was like, whatever I have to do to get out of trouble, everybody's fair game here, whatever I have to use. I mean, what are your thoughts on that dynamic?
And I think he sees in general, so I don't know him personally, I can't say exactly what he's thinking. The things that I hear when I hear the evidence and some of the and what came forward and the messages, is that he viewed people as a means to an end and not as people. So I don't know if he would have cared if his daughter had gotten in trouble, because if a small chance that it could have helped him. I think his wants and needs were his priority, and I don't think he prioritized them. And sadly, because one of the daughters, because Lauren Matthias from Hidden True Crime, of the daughter's victim impact statement, and how the daughter was apologizing for everybody having to be there. And she's going to have to go through, because he probably didn't just start gaslighting like in 2022 or 2020. Like, this has probably been a long pattern for him. And what individuals that show some traits like the ones that I've kind of seen with him, based on all the reporting and based on the public information, is that he would use manipulation and try to get people to feel sorry for him, to try to get people on his side, to try to look like a victim when he's actually the one causing harm.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. Another thing with him too, talking about, like, when you said you don't think he just started gaslighting, whatever. Yeah, I was sitting here thinking throughout this whole thing, and when the evidence was coming forth of, some would say, the diary entries from Angela, his late wife, at this point, the victim, that she's writing and whatnot, like, via her words, you could almost piece together what her life was like with this man over the years. Cause it was just like, oh my God. And the way she would take accountability for stuff, that, seeing the big picture, I'm like, okay, if you're in the trenches, like, you're her, you've got kids with this man, you're having to get through the day. I can see where you're just in the thick of it. But from our perspective on the outside, where we can see the whole picture, it's just like, oh my God, my heart breaks for her, because I know this man drove her absolutely incredibly insane, right?
And probably made her think it was her. So
Yeah.
that's why individuals like him are really good at twisting it to make the person they're harming feel like they're the problem. Like she wasn't doing enough, that she wasn't there. I don't know, like I could see him somehow twisting it to, and the wife possibly feeling bad. I also think the wife, um desperately wanted to stay married and really probably loved him and thought things could get better, thought things could change. She probably never of what he actually did. I'd because it doesn't sound like she suspected him, because there were other poisonings where the partner suspected. Like, I think it's Corey. Was it Corey Richard? There was one of them where he changed the life insurance policy. Like he felt like, I think she's trying to poison me.
I think that was Corey.
One of them. Yeah. Sometimes I get my cases all mixed up.
Well, another thing with this one too, with what's his name, with James, and kind of going back to where you were just talking about, him making her think this or whatever. So if you then circle back around to the business partner, where he tried to do that same, whatever how could you do this and how could you do that? What are your thoughts on like this process right here, where he tried to play that with that guy, but the guy was like, no, I'm not partaking in that game with you. This is the reality. We're not going to play false reality here. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And I think I was setting a really good boundary. So the thing that stops manipulation is boundaries. So, because I think he was trying to get his friend to not tell the whole truth, or to, I don't know, like to try to, he probably would have wanted the guy to lie for him. But I'm so glad that receptionist, or whoever, the office manager, I'm so glad that she was nosy and that she opened it. Like, why is something toxic? Why? Because he called, or he messaged and said, I have a personal package, don't open it. And she's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I'm so glad that things fell into place the way that they did, because he could have got away with it if he had got her cremated, or like if certain things didn't happen and if people didn't suspect him, he could have got away with it. I'm glad he didn't. Like we want criminals to go to jail.
I know, right? And that's the scary thing, because like with the poison, like we were talking about before, I mean, think about how many people got away with crimes like this, say way back when, or even now, like somebody who's a little bit more swift, because in the world of technology and cameras and all that, it's almost like when you sit here and walk yourself through the crime, it's like with James, it's like, okay, so he ordered the cyanide on his thing with his dental number and sent it to the like he was very obvious about it. But nonetheless, she went to the hospital several times, and they're like, if they don't know to look for that, and most people aren't thinking my husband or wife or whoever is poisoning my food. That's just not something that, even if you were thinking that, when we look at these crimes where even when the something is in the room that says, hey, this might be a situation, it's almost like we still don't want to believe that your person or whatever is capable of something this monstrous.
And yeah, because that's really hard, because you have to, because he might have been a good father in some ways, and then not so good, and then manipulative at another time. Do you know what I mean? Like, so individuals like him, they're not horrible all the time. They likely have good sides, and that's where harmless cycle, where there can be good times, there can be love bombing, there can be, this positive connection, these good times, but then there's the harmful parts that I just want people to be emotionally safe. And that's why I like talking about these cases, because it brings things like coercive control and, emotional harm. Because I think if he had put his hands on his wife, she might have been more likely to leave. And a lot of people don't see the signs of emotional harm.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. What is your take, like in like say a general sense or whatever, when you're dealing with personalities like James or the Sarah Boones, or did you follow the who did I keep comparing? Anthony Todd. Did you follow that trial? This was like a minute ago, where he poisoned his wife with the Benadryl and then he killed her also, but he said she wanted to, it was very similar to this. But Anthony's behavior was so similar to James's. And it makes me sit here and just wonder with these personality types that are the extreme, like whether they're, I don't know what they are, narcissistic, entitled, but whatever they got going on. When you think about daily life with them and how they, like, I don't know how you would say it, but how they just whittle a person down to where they're exhausted. They just go along with it. It's almost like you have to enter into the game a little bit because they've got you so beat down. You're just like, I don't want to say this because if I do, it will be World War III. So we're just going to pretend like blank just to get through the day. I mean, it's like, what's your take on that?
And so when I'm working with somebody and I'm hearing them talk about what's happening in their relationship, and there seem to be some red flags, the thing that I like to do is build up the confidence and self client, the person that's in that room, because sometimes what can happen is it can be scary to be a single mom of 6, you know what I mean? Like, that can be so the fact that she stayed, so I don't fault her, because I've had clients decide to stay in relationships that were difficult or, we always make sure children are safe, and because the decision to leave has to be my client's decision, and so I support my client no matter what, because I want them to be honest with me about kind of what's going on. Leaving is hard. A lot of people leave and go back. I think she tried to set boundaries because she found out about the affair and had him, I think was maybe sugar baby number 3 or something. Like he reached out to that one and ended things, but there were other things that I don't know that she knew the full extent of how much he was cheating on her. And I just think he put himself first and but wanted to be seen by others as this good father, good husband, positive person. And so it was a big image thing. And Warren Mathias also mentioned that maybe he wanted to be seen as like a sad widower. That was versus a divorcee. Because people, when somebody gets divorced, you're normally like, what happened? Even if the person's like, oh, it was all my partner, but you're kind of like, oh, but like, what? What? You would kind of have some questions. When somebody's a widower, the sympathy, people normally come around to support them. And that might have been what he wanted and what he was looking for too.
That's really interesting. That makes total sense. I
I
could
give all credit
completely.
to Lauren.
What now?
I give credit to Lauren.
I Yeah, I could totally see that him doing that, and he would absolutely love every second of that. Of just the, oh, woe is me, woe is me. I mean, because I felt like he was doing that in court too. Now, obviously, I wasn't there. We would see pictures come out, and then, like you said, like listening to like the people, Lauren, lawyerly people who were there talking about his antics, if you will, of the pivoting themselves to be the victim. And Sarah Boone was that way too in court, where it was like this perpetual victimhood thing, like constant victimhood. Now she seemed to have these, I mean, she wasn't a poisoner, she wasn't any of this stuff or whatever, but like that similarity of I'm actually the victim in the scenario that I created through my monstrous acts. Why don't y'all see any of that? And that kind of just entitlement, like what do y'all, how? And I mean, maybe he took this to trial because he was like, switching back over to James, because maybe he was like, well, they'll see when I get up here, I can talk my way out of this. Like, do you think these type personalities are thinking they can talk their way out of it and that everybody will see the truth if they can just get up there and say what it is?
And I do think every defendant is entitled to their day in court if they decide, because it's on the state to prove it. And there could have been a jury that said, oh, maybe she did. There could have been one person that said, maybe she did try to do this to herself. But a lot of the evidence would be, why would you be doing this to yourself or know that that this is happening for you to die and that you're going to the hospital for help? So that's the part that didn't, if I were on the jury, that wouldn't make sense. She seemed like she wanted to live because he was trying to paint her as this person that either like that she didn't want to be here anymore or that they were going to go out together, or I don't, like he was painting all these things. And then he was just a really bad criminal. Cause I don't know if, I'm sure his defense team prepared him like, hey, they're going to bring in the affairs, those women, because there could have been a chance that maybe the women didn't respond to the subpoena. Because I saw an interview with the one, I think the one he took to Montana, uh, because she was receiving money for her services, and there can be some shame connected to that, and that
Mhm.
can be used to silence victims, or that can be used to silence people. So the fact that all these people came forward to speak out about him, because people might judge them as women or as people for if they knew they were with a married man or this or that. And so the fact that these people came forward, he might have been hoping that somebody didn't respond to a subpoena, or what evidence is really going to get in, or can his lawyer somehow try to say, well, maybe the wife was the one doing the Google searches. No, sir. And they comes in with that evidence of they're in two separate locations.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. It's such a good point to bring up about, the potential for, well, I don't want to go testify because of the shame or the embarrassment that A, B, or C. And I'm sure a person like him would bank on or rely on that.
Mhm.
One of the things I found interesting when you start getting into like the sugar baby, sugar daddy scenario he was doing or whatever, is how it really seemed like, and again, I wasn't there, so I don't know the conversations that took place in the situation, but
Yeah.
just from what I saw, it seemed like these ladies, like they kind of knew they knew what they wanted out of the situation. It was like, this
Money.
is what this is. I'm
Yeah.
looking for blank,
Yeah.
you know. And he would then get in and almost be like, well, that's cool, but then turn it into this girlfriend experience that seemed like on some of them, they were like, yeah, I'm not, we're not doing all that. Like, that's not part of what this is. Like, it just got weird. It was almost like his little fetish or something like that. And these are just the people that we saw evidence of. To me, he seems like one of those dudes where I'm like, this guy's probably meeting people and picking people up like left and right. I think there was one person who worked for him who it wasn't a physical affair, but it was like an emotional affair. I think they call it, like maybe conversations about stuff that was not appropriate for a boss and a worker, or whatever the scenario was. But I feel like I think this guy was constantly, and I don't know if grooming is the right word, but like manipulating everyone around him. Like if he met a woman that he liked, whatever, he would just start twiddling away at them while doing this to 5 other people at the same time. And just know, like, I don't care. Like, I'll be juggling 5 women at one time. It's, this is my hobby.
Yeah. Yep. And somebody mentioned that my mic was skipping, so I changed my mic out, or hopefully that makes it a little bit better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just thought it was a connection or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so there's that part. Now, so let's talk about like the I don't know what you would call it, the psychological makeup of a poisoner, or like some of the cases we've seen. Obviously he's the recent one. We have Corey Richins coming up. Anthony Tott was a huge one. That his personality, it would be interesting. I don't know if you didn't follow that one, if you, in your free time that I'm sure you have so much of, but if you looked at that case at some point and saw, it would be very interesting to get your perspective on the similarities between Anthony Tott and James Craig, because all the way down to the obviousness of it, it was so much like, did he read about Anthony Tott and just try and copy him? But that article that I sent you, where they were talking about like how a poisoner, there's so much planning that has to go into it, and such like a level of a different kind of deception than, obviously the heat of the moment crime of, I found my lover in bed with somebody and pulled a gun out and shot him, versus I was working towards that insurance money and hired a hitman or whatever the case. But the poison, and especially when you're sitting there watching the person die, like this guy was poisoning his wife. She's going to the hospital. She's not getting sick enough. So he's poisoning her more, and like watching this take place, taking pictures of it. Do you have any thoughts on that mental part of that with a poisoner versus, say, somebody who shoots somebody?
And so I haven't looked at all the research because there probably are profile differences. In general, I would think somebody that uses poison, they want to be kind of removed from it a little bit. Like they're not, because to do it in somebody's face that's intimate, that's up and personal. Poison to me, you're a little bit more removed. And I thought it was interesting that medical professionals can be more likely to use poison. Um, uh, yeah. And I don't know if that's just knowing the medical knowledge and knowing kind of what things can do, but in that article that you sent, I thought that was interesting.
Hmm. And I wonder too with the like a medical professional or whatever, obviously some of it could be the access to things,
Mhm.
whether it be drugs or, the knowledge of how to make something untraceable. And I guess too, another thing that surprises me, doesn't surprise me, but is more scary, um, is I almost wonder if we're going to see more poison type murders come about as like if people start to view it like well, this is much cleaner to get away with. There's less evidence. There's less this, depending on, I guess, what the poison agent was. You know, you would think most people would have more common sense than to like be as obvious as James Craig was.
And I thought with the Visine, because I remember the Jesse that other Visine one. And so I was wondering if he kind of loosely followed true crime or if he Googled something. And because that did come up that he was specifically trying to look for something. And I'm glad that they're getting better in autopsies of finding poison and looking for those things. Um, I, it's just, and I wish if the death was suspicious that you automatically had to get an autopsy. I wish I because sometimes the family is the one that gets to decide, but what if they're the person that did a crime? Mm.
100% agree. And on that same note, too, so like in this situation where, and I can't remember if it was the daughter or somebody who asked the logical question because it's like, okay, mom just died of a medical mystery. It only makes sense on a hereditary level. We
Yeah.
need to find out what happened. And his response is like, but they couldn't figure out when she's alive. They're not gonna poke around her body or whatever. And I agree. Like anything like this should be like an immediate, like boom. Like we have to find out what took place. Again, luckily in this case, it was a see something, say something.
Yeah.
And so everything quickly, I mean, when I say quickly, it was obviously too late, but very soon thereafter was like, oh, wait, we're connecting these dots almost immediately. Um, and quickly being like, whoa, this is crazy next level obvious what he just did. Um, and I saw somebody a second ago ask a question, and I don't remember who it is, but I'll kind of sum it up or whatever, because I'm curious about this too. It was something to the effect of where James Craig's children aren't like supporting him in the way, say, Chad Daybell's parents were or whatever. When I look at some of these crimes where you have two parents, one murders the other one, and then the kids are left with the reality of, I either accept that one parent did it and the consequences of that acceptance and that reality and how that breaks the family down even further, or if there's a room for denial or whether or not I just want to deny it, I can't handle that. The two different paths that one can take, because your life is basically then defined, whichever path you take, by that action. So it is interesting in this case, the kids, I mean, they got there and said the opposite of what the state said they were going to say. They really just were like, no, here's the situation, y'all, and it ain't looking good.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that with Chad, I think his children blame Lori still. And there wasn't another person to blame besides, like, he's the one that bought the poison, that did all the things. And he was a lot more sketchy. I think Chad was a little more sly and a little bit more almost weaponized and competent. Like he just seemed like I think his kids believed that it was all Lori. Um, I don't personally feel that way, but I think his kids do.
Yeah. Yeah. That would make sense. And that was like the Michael Peterson case here in Durham with the staircase
Mhm.
and how all the kids stood by him at first. Then Kathleen's biological daughter was like, oh, wait, she saw the evidence and was like, no. And
Mhm.
then essentially his kids kind of held out. There is room for doubt. You know, nobody really truly knows what happened to Kathleen. At the end of the day, we can all kind of, you know, make assumptions, whatever. But I saw where there's room for that. But then following the kids later in life, where they even started to question his two adopted daughters of like, they would be like, you know, well, I mean, whatever happened that night, you could tell that doubt had entered their mind, but they had lost so much when that happened. It was like, we lost our mom. Now, Kathleen, now, if we say this, we're going to lose our dad. You know, so it's almost like we can't do that. Like, I'm not ready for that. So I'll go along with blank.
And with children, because I know in this case, the daughters came forward to talk about just how painful it's been, like how forever their dad is going to be the person that murdered their mom, and just the impact that that has on them. And like that is just that is so sad. Very, very and that can be difficult for a child because you want to you sometimes you have your dad up on this pedestal, you think he's this provider, and that he's this awesome guy, and then you have to reconcile this new information of what happened.
Mhm. And another thing that was interesting with this one too is like, at least from my perspective, so I didn't know about this case. I mean, maybe you know, I heard about it when it first came out or whatever, but we just came off of the mushroom massacre situation over in Australia. You know,
Yeah.
obviously major poison, major pre-planning, all this stuff, and then everybody's like, "Have you looked at the James Craig thing?" And I was like, "Wow, okay, so we're going from Aaron Patterson, beef Wellingtons, death cap mushrooms." Over here to James, you know, again, we have Corey Richards. It's mesmerizing to me how many poison cases are going on and the method that they're each doing it with. Now, Aaron Patterson's another one that to me, in my you know unprofessional, uncredentialed opinion, if you look at her behavior and some of her interviews, she too had that whole thing of I'm the victim. I lost everything. This
Yes.
happened to me. Everything's outward, inward. You know,
Mhm.
and that same thing that James had of the, you know, well, why don't you want to help me cover up my wife's murder? You're my friend. You know, what are you talking about? And I wonder if it's like a personality trait. It's almost like if you could assign personality traits to different kind of killers. You know what I mean? It's almost like, is this a poisonous personality trait or an axe murderer personality trait?
And
You know what I'm saying?
and the article that you sent me talked about how people that use poison often have this immaturity. They often do want to be sometimes they were spoiled as a child or and not that if you spoil your child they're going to poison and kill somebody, but like but when they look at people that do use poison that there's this immaturity there where they get their they want their way no matter what. And they'll do anything to get their way. And that's a problem. Like we have to be able to tell ourselves no. Like if you don't like your spouse, get a divorce. Like if you like if you like you just you don't do crimes. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
It's like, what an interesting concept. You don't want to be with your spouse anymore. Don't kill them. Just divorce them. You know? But some of these things too go into almost like the little bit I've looked into like family annihilator stuff and the mentality of, you know, and let's just say it's the male. I've whatever, I've lost my job, something's happened. I can't have the embarrassment of that. I'll kill my whole family instead and disappear, whatever, you know. Um, it's so it's almost some, I don't know, it's similar to me in that. Now, on your thing you just said about the immaturity thing. I mean, when I sit here and immediately go to in my mind, now I haven't seen enough of Corey Richards yet to make anything about that. Again, these same names I'm going to use. Aaron Patterson, James Craig, and Anthony Todd definitely to me seem like, I don't know the fancy credential word for it, whether it's arrested development or stunted youth or whatever, but they definitely had that like, I'm going to throw a temper tantrum right here. Now, mind you, Aaron did take the stand. I just didn't get to see it. But that type vibe of like, I'm not getting my way. I'm throwing a temper tantrum, you know, and it almost makes you wonder too, like if you look at especially Erin, where she's eating the dinner with these people, knows what she did to them, having this conversation. James poisoning the wife, although I think he wasn't sitting there like getting the same pleasure that Erin was. I think he was more like, I've got a girlfriend to pick up at the airport. Why are you still alive? Like, come on, let's get going. And who knows with Anthony Todd, he was so crazy. But yeah, so long story short, I'm dribbling on, but that immaturity thing, I definitely think is there, especially with these people we're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. And that's where I like talking about ways that we can increase emotional intelligence. How can we just have a healthier society and recognize some of these signs sooner? Because I wish one of the women, when he was kind of making weird statements about his wife, I wish someone had seen a red flag to be like, somebody should probably warn his wife that like he might not be okay.
Mm-hmm. How about that one lady? So not the sugar baby lady, and I'm just saying sugar. I'm just lumping the sugar baby ladies into one thing. And then there was the dental lady and another where it seemed like she legitimately liked him. But then he sent her that text. Well, first of all, I forget what it was, but I had to break out the calculator the other day to figure out the things. I was like, he was texting her every like 7.53 minutes of the day. It was something insane. Well, he sent her that thing and he was like, just so you know, I would never poison you. And to me, I'm thinking, if somebody I just started talking to,
that's weird.
I would be like, blocked or ghosted, right? It's just like, why would you even say that to somebody? But that's the part where, but she seemed to authentically like him and was going along with it and kind of got like sucked into this. And then too, I'm just kind of going through my mind of the evidence, him taking pictures of his wife and sending them, and that, because it was disturbing to look at it from, I look at stuff like that all the time with following.
Missed that part. Who did he send them to? I missed that part of the evidence.
So if I'm correct, and y'all help me out in the comment section, he sent them to the dental lady that he liked them. Or what I'm saying, like the legitimate woman. They all tell me.
I wonder if he was trying to get sympathy, like, oh, look at my poor wife. Like, I'm taking care of my sick wife. Like was that the gist of that? Like, oh, I'm such a good husband. I'm taking care of my sick wife. I don't know. That's
It could be, because it almost, and I can't remember the name of the case. I almost said Scott Peterson, but it wasn't him. Where it was that same scenario of something was going on. The person had something to do with the wife's thing, and they were also using it for sympathy and to get attention. But they also were like, if y'all know it, drop in the comments, where it was like, sent to the dental mistress. Thank you, Northwest. Do y'all remember what I'm talking about? There's some case like that where the dude was killing somebody and then using it for sympathy with a new person. And sadly, there might be multiple people like this, right?
So the treadmill, Christopher Gregor, did you follow that one?
I remember that case, yeah.
So when his son was sick, I think he sent a picture of his son to like a girl he was dating or something. I remember that one.
Okay, yeah, I don't
People
remember that.
Chris Watts. I don't know.
Oh, Chris Watts. Yeah, maybe that's. I'm probably mixing a few people because Chris Watts does come to mind. I'm blending Chris and Scott Peterson in my mind because Scott was trying to play it off, and it was only until his back was against the wall he was like, "Oh yeah, by the way." It's like, we've been talking this whole time, and that's been going like, what? Chris was definitely like, I just want him home. I really miss him, that whole thing or whatever. And I don't even know what was, that's a whole other situation right there. I don't even know with Chris. But yeah. So then what's your, talking about like emotional maturity, things of this nature, seeing signs, so on and so forth, what's your take on, and again, I don't know if he's a narcissist or what his, James Craig, like, I don't know what his situation is, obviously. So let's just say personality types like that. I mean, are there any statistics out there of, well, 1 in every 10 households or 1 in every 10 person, you know what I mean? Like, has that personality?
So personality traits come on a spectrum where somebody can have a little bit, somebody can have a lot. And sometimes in crisis, or when somebody is in when they're stressed, sometimes their personality traits can get stronger when they're stressed or triggered. He seemed to have a weak ego. So the thing with narcissism is they want this their image is what they care about the most, how people see them. And I think that's why Sarah Boone wouldn't take the deal, because she didn't want to be convicted. She didn't want to say that she did anything wrong. Like, she thought a jury would see her side and she would be able to have victory and go home. And she didn't see how we were going to see the evidence that, like, oh my gosh, like George was actually the victim. And so sometimes individuals with narcissistic traits, they have difficulty seeing things from how they understand how their behavior impacts other people, but that doesn't change their behavior, because
Mhm.
because sometimes they're still getting what they want. And relationships can be transactional, and just based on what the person can do for the individual. And people can be viewed as objects and not people, means
Mhm.
to an ends, and not like my wife, the person I've spent the last 23 years with, like the mother of my 6 kids. Like the person loses that, and but I don't want to be married anymore. And instead, like, just get divorced.
Yeah. Now, also, could you speak to,
Mhm.
and like, explain to me or whatever, like differences in general terms, not even talking about specific case or person, um, between a narcissist and and sociopathy, or whatever the proper
Yes,
word is, a sociopath? Because
yes.
oftentimes I sit here and say, I don't know if they're a sociopath or narcissist, whatever. Like, I kind of lump them together. But could you explain some of the differences there?
And sometimes people can have a little bit of both. So sometimes people can have, so I think Sarah Boone had a little narcissistic and also some like antisocial. So somebody with antisocial traits or psychopathic, sociopathic traits, they don't believe the rules apply to them. They have no problems in general. So I'm talking about the most extreme of this. They don't have a problem, uh and I'm being careful with my YouTube safe words, with um taking someone out, or with using people. So I wouldn't use a stranger, yet less a friend or somebody I love or care about. And then somebody like Alec Murdaugh, like, he swindles his clients, his friends, his family, and so I would never do that, because I care about my family. Uh, and even if I needed money, I wouldn't try to swindle it out of somebody else. And so there's this lack of the antisocial lack of empathy is more of a, I don't care how my behavior impacts other people,
Mhm.
versus with narcissism, it's a difficulty, but doing this gets me what I want, or like the focus is the self. And with antisocial behavior, it's just like I wanted to, and so I did it. And so there are a lot of rule violations, sometimes breaking laws. um uh Sometimes there are some careers that have a little bit of antisocial. I work with Marines, and so people that are in jobs where it's part of their job to have to defend our country, or do like it's like for the mission, I will do this thing that I wouldn't normally do. So sometimes there will be some small amounts of those traits. It's just not so much that then they are harming their spouse and harming other people in their lives. And so, yeah.
Fascinating,
Mhm.
fascinating. Now, on that level too,
Yes.
so do you think like a narcissist, so for
Mhm.
example, like James Craig, like let's say like, we got to see his papers or whatever, and it was like, yeah, he's a diagnosed or whatever narcissist. Can they still have feelings in the way that like maybe somebody who I associate like being psychotic or whatever doesn't have, like the I love my wife, but I'm also going to be horrible to her and then feel guilty later. And then like, is there like the kind of feelings that I'm associating that I might feel about like what I
So
consider normal versus them?
individuals like him, they often don't feel the emotion until they get caught. because his wife is dying and he's with his lovers. Does that make sense? Like he's like, and he's not, there's no emotion about losing his wife in that
Mm.
situation. Even his children losing their mother, I don't know what his emotion was. And he could have, because sometimes people will put on a show at the funeral. But it reminds me of how quickly Chad did Tammy's funeral and how people were just like, oh my gosh, like they had it so fast, we couldn't even come into town. And so individuals with those types of traits, they do experience emotion, but it's often from their perspective and not the other person's perspective. So I think he probably felt bad about being convicted, but it's because he didn't want to go to jail. He doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in jail. So the emotion is more in the getting caught and the consequences than what the person actually did, which makes them for people that don't have remorse. And I don't know if you saw a judge recently sentenced. I'll have to find it. Sentenced a guy, and he was still trying to say he was innocent. Let me, because it's at the top of my feed. Um, it was Maxwell Anderson. I don't know if you followed that one, but watch the judge's sentencing. It was really, really good because the judge was like, you have no remorse, and that's a problem. Like you're more likely to do this again if you don't even think this was wrong. You because he was convicted of a horrible crime.
Wow. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I had to check it out because one thing I've been sitting here thinking about recently was like I want to start gathering up some of the like the standout sentences to me or sentencing, when the people get sentenced, where the judge is like really, it's a good one.
I would check it. Judge read a letter from a citizen, and it was so poetic because the crime was really horrific. And so the in the letter it was like, this is about the victims, like what she should still be here. The letter was just really good. Yes, Maxwell
Wow.
Anderson. That was the sentencing. You really have to check it out. It was good.
I'll check that out. That's okay, cool. Thank you for the heads up on that.
Mhm.
Um, and now, so let me ask you, we'll kind of start winding down a little bit here. It's edging up on the whatever at 7 o'clock. What cases, like, what are you following right now? Is there anything specific that you're looking into or following, or like what's going on in Dr. Barry's world?
So I'm always keeping an eye on Mama Adelson, and and then the chat is the best. So the chat brings up different stories and things. And I apologize, my internet, something is happening today. And so of course, like right before a big stream, it would kind of glitch out a little. But I will probably react to that judge's sentencing just because it was so powerful. And the defendant, because he in his statement to the court, he was like, I didn't do this, I hope she gets justice. But there's a ton of evidence that like that he did. And so I will probably react to that. My birthday is on Wednesday, so I'm going to do a birthday stream on Tuesday. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. Happy early
Thank you.
birthday. Woohoo. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look that up now that you're talking about.
I'm
I'm
gonna
just like,
I'm
okay,
I'm
so
I'm I'm gonna email it to you. I already have the link.
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Adelson trial is gonna be very interesting. I'm sure I wanna have like do this again to talk about her at some point. Because that's gonna be I've been living in Donald Adelson world today, just like doing videos and going back down, like looking at stuff. And we did a live stream, I don't know, last night or the night before, where we watched her arrest video and stuff.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's so much going on there. I'm just like, that is just crazy. I think it's going to be very fascinating if it goes to trial. At this point, I'm not holding my breath with these trials. I'm like, you know what? She could plea out. She could. I don't think she will, though. Right? I think she's pretty dead set on. I've done nothing wrong here. And how dare y'all put these cuffs on me?
And I think she's another one that's gonna try to make herself look like the victim. But the fact, so I didn't realize she paid the person that actually did the crime, his ex-girlfriend. I didn't realize that Donna Adelson was the one signing her checks for those 2 years after. I didn't even realize that. And so there's a lot of evidence as
Yeah.
good
Did
God.
you see her? We watched it again. I can't remember now. What is it? Saturday, so maybe Thursday night or whatever. But we watched her a few of the videos, and one of them was her time on the stand semi recently, where she's talking about the phone call, and she's like really hamming up. She just acts very, wounded, like a wounded bird. Just like, yes. I mean, I wasn't thinking that, and da 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 da. And I'm sitting here like, okay, she's now been in jail for what is it, 2025? So, not, I mean, when I say not that long, like in the scheme of things, right? But it's still a while to be in jail, especially for someone who's lived a very privileged life or whatever, like her. However, she's been in there long enough for all the noisiness of life to quiet down. And in my world, I'm thinking she has to be sitting here like, oh, what, I'm done. I'm cooked. Like, this is going to be bad. Like, this is obvious. Like, the evidence is she's another one that just keeps digging her hole deeper over time.
Because I think she's a schemer. Like, I think she's tries, so when she's stuck, she doesn't just say, okay, what's a legal way I can get out of this? I think she's like, okay, what's some way I can manipulate my, and in general, I don't know her, but like what I've seen, she seems to be like, how can I get somebody to lie, still cheat? Like, what, how can I get out of this situation? We didn't mention with James Craig that he tried to get a hit on. Like, was it the detective or somebody? Like, I didn't,
Yeah, the
what?
detective. He caught more charges in jail than he did out of jail. Okay, that was the crazy part. It was like he was still scheming and just the whole night. They hit him with so many charges behind bars, and I'm like, that's the other part that gets me with the people that we discuss is I'm just like, you're in jail. The phone calls are recorded. That like you're in the hot spot, right? Everything's being monitored. So it's like, why on earth would you send out a letter with a murder plot, hire a hitman from the phone, do any of these things that are just next level? Oh yeah, and
And
Corey
somebody asked
Rich.
a great question. Somebody
Okay.
asked a question about, do you think Wendy's boys are brainwashed? Can they ever have a healthy relationship with the Markel family?
Oh,
And my heart breaks for the kids. I
mhm.
do think the state is going to bring up how soon after Dan Markel's death, the children, because they were about to limit Donna's access. Like, she was about to not have, I think, unsupervised visits or something. And then soon after they moved, they're closer. And I do just hope that the kids can have somebody that is helping support them. And I don't know if the family will allow them to have a relationship with both parents, because this all of this is available on YouTube, for they can look at it. But I wouldn't have them look at it until they were old. So I wouldn't want a 12, 13, 14, like a young kid to look through a lot of this stuff. But sometimes their friends will know, they'll talk about things. Like, you just know these poor kids have been through a lot and heard a lot. I don't know if they'll ever change their name back to Markel, or if they'll stay Adelson. But that'll be up to them and up to the families. As a therapist, I support my client where they are. And there's some people that when they first come in, they're not ready to see just how bad things really were. because for some people that can have them lose hope and it can really be disorienting because it's already a lot to lose a dad. I don't know what the kids will do if there are ever any charges in the future for Wendy. I think Wendy was smart. I don't know if they ever will be able to do charges for Wendy. But my heart just goes out to the kids because they're the ones that don't have a say in the middle of all of this.
Mhm. Excellent point. Excellent point. And like, if you sit here and look and, I look back at my own childhood and like the trajectory that you go over and, like the different stages of life where, obviously you start off, your parents are your world. They know everything. They do all this, and you get older and you become your own person, and you just go through different stages like, oh, wait, my parents are humans. Oh, wait, my parents make mistakes. And so I think of these things like this where the kids are young when these crimes take place. And yeah, they might be completely like, yeah, well, I don't know what, but dad was bad or what. Yeah, they start to get older and they start to do their own research, if you will, or friends talk, whatever. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, the things that will come, the realizations that will take place over their entire course of their life,
Yeah.
right? Like they'll always question or like go back, well, wait a minute, what about when mom said this at Christmas or whatever the case is, the memory that triggers it. They're lifelong victims of their other parents. And I'm not saying that, I want to see something, with Wendy as well, but as of now, she's not been charged, any of the stuff, So when I say they're a victim of their parents' actions, it's, more like, say, maybe in this case, their family's actions against their father.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll rob them completely if they have no relationship with the other family, the other set of grandparents.
And when they turn 18, it can become, or when they're of age, it can become their choice. And so if they ever do, because I've seen kids, once they do have all the information and they realize just how bad things are, sometimes it just makes them rethink their whole childhood, or for the family that kept them away from the other side, there can be a lot of resentment for some people. So I just hope they have good support around them, and that they have a safe space to kind of go and talk. Some families that are closed, and what I mean by closed is they're high control, they don't like a lot of outside influence. They often don't take their kids to therapy unless it gets really bad, unless
Mhm.
it's like safety. Then they'll let a therapist come in. I've worked with situations like that where I knew the family was really against therapy, but this was like a last resort. And I did my best to support them where they were. But I knew I couldn't push certain boundaries. Like I knew, and I just hope the kid had a good experience so that if they ever needed therapy again down the road, that they would come back. Because some things are just bad parenting. It's not necessarily like anything you can call child protective services about or anything. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, that's not a good parenting decision. Because to me, isolating the kids from the Markel family, I personally, and I don't know them, just as a person, I don't think that's great. But and the kids can resent people later for it as they find out more information.
So true. So
Mhm.
true. Well, thank you once again for coming to hang out on the old sofa, and give us your insight. This is so fascinating. I love talking to you about these cases and like picking your brain about all the credentialed questions. So I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for hanging out here in the comment section and the sofa and the squad and everybody over at Dr. Barry's channel. So be sure and check out Dr. Barry. She has her own YouTube channel, Dr. Patrice Barry. And she covers these things. She reacts to these things. She goes over this stuff, and definitely would love to have you back again for the cases that are all coming forth to get some intel on those.
What cases are you following?
So Donna Adelson, that's going to be the next one. So I'm going to be doing some refresher videos, and that I was recording those today.
Nice.
Some reaction videos to her. It's interesting to look back at the stuff, like, because I did a video about like her arrest in that video a long time ago, but I haven't. I looked at it the other night on this channel, but to revisit that stuff again, it's with the evidence that's come forth. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this like is completely different and new now. You know what I'm saying? So that one, that horrifying case out of Alabama, with the kids that were in the bunker downstairs.
I'll check that
This is bad. I'm gonna have a video Monday on it.
Okay.
The TikTok, I call them the TikTok murders, the girl who killed her parents, well, allegedly, and the TikToks, and then the Devils, what's the teacher who killed the couple?
Yeah,
that it's just these. I'd be fat when more information comes out about that. I'd love to talk to you about that and the TikTok murder one, because that right there, I was like, whoa. Have you looked into that?
Especially the fact that she went on to try to get sympathy after, like, but I think that was for likes, clicks, and views. And so that's where I don't like, I think that can be a downside of social media. Or she was faking out. If she is convicted, like that one is just very, very horrific. I'm gonna follow that one too. I think it's Grace. How many Grace?
Sarah Grace.
Sarah Grace. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating. Yeah, we'll definitely have to. We'll converge back on the sofa.
My internet will be better next time, I promise.
No, it's all good. Well, I appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule to come hang out and talk. And again, happy early birthday to you. And again, thanks, mods. Thank everybody for hanging out and keeping the sofa going. I love you and appreciate it. And that's it. So I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday evening, and we'll close out with Slow Morrison's little sofa song, and then we'll see you on the flip side. Thank you. Bye.
The pillows are fluff thanks to Miss Emily. The couch is wide enough. Join the family. It's all love while we laugh at Bert's criminalities. Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup at hey, 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 come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. Oh, please, the puppies need me. Oh, oh, please, my body is rejecting none of that fancy credential stuff. I'm just here for the cringe binge. Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup and hey, 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 come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. Oh, please, the puppies need me. Oh, please, my body is rejecting none of that fancy credentialed stuff. I'm just here for the cringe binge. Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup that hey, 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 come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.